King on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. This is season 3, episode 19, man. It is Thursday, March 2nd, 2023, man. Shout out to everybody joining us. I'm your boy Scott, your host, per usual, man. Thank you. We've had a 2-week hiatus, but we are back. A lot of things to get into, a lot of NBA stuff. Got some NFL combine things to go over, so should be a lot of stuff. A lot of conversation to be had today, man. But let's get it started with, to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Barberchair Scott. You know to follow this great media network, H&B Media, at H&B Media TV on Twitter, at H&B Media on Instagram. Follow the Barberchair Network at Barberchair Net on Twitter and Instagram. And also visit our Patreon. Subscribe to Patreon, patreon.com/Barberchair Network. We've got a new episode of Cinema with the Guys up right now, and we've definitely just uploaded a new episode of Summer Sessions right now. So go ahead and check that out, man. A lot of things to go over here, man. We're going to start it off actually with my sound off. We're going to give a double, actually, no, this mainly is basically just going to be to my guy, Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane, man, was traded this week from the Chicago Blackhawks to the New York Rangers, man. We're not going to get to the specifics of the trade because this isn't really a hockey show. All I know, they probably could have got more because you got a guy who's a walking Hall of Famer. You didn't get a first-round pick, but whatever. I just want to get on, start this show and basically get on what Patrick Kane means to me. A guy who's really, I'm not really a hockey fan. I watched hockey a lot from 2009 to 2017 because the Blackhawks were so big. But this is a guy who leaves in 16 years in Chicago. He is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, MVP, won an MVP in one of those Stanley Cup championships. Number 2 in all-time goals in Blackhawks history. He has had an incredible career, man. And this is a guy who he made hockey. Well, he helped me. Of course, we can't forget about the captain, Jonathan Toews. Helped made Chicago be a hockey town for almost a decade. This is a town that is run by the Chicago Bears. When the Bulls are good, it's a Bulls town. And of course, we all know the city is divided between the Cubs and Chicago White Sox. Baseball is a big thing in the city too. And it really wasn't a hockey town. Now, granted, the Chicago Blackhawks are one of the original 6 NHL franchises. Probably, in my opinion, got one of the best jersey in sports, probably in all the leagues. But this is the thing, growing up in Chicago, anybody can attest to this. The Blackhawks weren't on TV. They were a terribly run organization. They didn't have any good TV deals. They were never on TV for them to even gain a fan base. So he was drafted in 2007, number 1 overall draft pick. This is a team that 2 years later made the Western Conference Finals and ended up losing to the Detroit Red Wings in 7 games. The next year, they won the franchise's first Stanley Cup in over 40 years. Patrick Kane making the game-winning goal in that Game 6 against Philadelphia. And that is what was my introduction to hockey. I started watching the Blackhawks in that West Conference Finals in 2009. I just know a lot of people were talking about them. It was the big talk on Chicago sports radio, and I was in college at the time, and this is where I would just listen to nothing but Chicago sports radio. And I was like, well, let me give it a try. And honestly, I gotta give it to hockey is actually a pretty exciting sport. Now I know not only do a lot of Americans not really watch hockey, especially not a lot of black people watch hockey, but it was very exciting. And he and that whole team, which has a checkered history, we know now with the things that was happening off the ice, but changed the culture of the team to a winning franchise. And it was must-watch TV. People were going to the bars to watch them win the championship. Going to, everything was invested. Before you know it, it wasn't the Bears that were the hardest ticket to get in the city. This is the middle of the Derrick Rose Bulls era. The Bulls weren't the hardest ticket to get in the city. It was the Chicago Blackhawks. And he was right on the front lines of that. He is, bar none, the best American-born hockey player by far. And just go out there, win 3 Stanley Cups, and brought an era of dominance that this city has not seen since Michael Jordan's Bulls. And God knows who win the next time we're going to see that. I know Bears fans who would love for that to happen. A lot of people, Cubs fans, and even I thought that the Cubs were getting ready to go on a run when they won that championship in 2016. The 2015 Cubs looked eerily similar to the 2009 Chicago Blackhawks, where they just got there. We're almost there, and they just need to take something over the top. And of course, that thing being the addition of Marian Hossa, which took the Blackhawks from just cool team in the West Conference Finals to a Stanley Cup champion and a perennial Stanley Cup contender. I mean, this is a team. We can debate dynasties. And hockey is a lot tougher. If they're not a dynasty, they're damn near close to it. 3 championships in 5 years, had a real chance of going back to back in 2014. Of course, losing in Game 7 to the Los Angeles Kings, and again to this day, it's probably my top 5 most brutal sports losses. Game 7 at home, overtime game. The game-winning goal for the Blackhawks got called back because of a penalty, and then they came down and won that, and Los Angeles went on to eventually win the Stanley Cup by beating the Rangers in the 2014 Stanley Cup. And I remember that because I took my cousin to a WWE pay-per-view that night, and I was watching the game on my phone, and I was very pissed off. But coming back the next year, I had moved to Los Angeles by that time. Coming back the next year to eventually win another championship, win 3 championships, their 3rd championship in 5 years, over the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is crazy. Now Tampa Bay has become a juggernaut. All the championships they've won, but basically, long story short, man, I just want to salute Patrick Kane for a long time, being here, one of the all-time greats in Chicago sports history. Whether you rank him in your Chicago sports Mount Rushmore, I know those are different conversations. It's tough conversations, mainly because of, you got to really rank where hockey matters in, the grand scheme of things. But for me personally, from athletes that I've watched in my time as a Chicago sports fan, he's on my Mount Rushmore up there. And, I just got to give a salute to him. And New York, you got a good one. The Rangers got a good one. The Rangers have been a pretty good team this year. And Patrick Kane still's got a lot left in the tank. I really think they got a good chance out there. So salute the Kaner. And, yeah, man, it's if you're a big hockey fan, it's going to be a rough time. We don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taves, his injury history. So I don't know if he's going to stay at Blackhawks, but the end of an era is officially here, man. So I want to give it up to Patrick Kane, man. But we're going to move on here in the rundown. We're going to talk about the state of the NBA. State of the NBA right now with everything going on. Want to talk about the debut of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant last night made his Phoenix Suns debut against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, they ended up winning that game. I thought he looked pretty good. He went 10 for 15 shooting, had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists in 27 minutes. He looked pretty fluid. Devin Booker had 37 points. And, they had a pretty solid win against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, again, granted, Charlotte Hornets are a very bad team, and their best player did not play. LaMelo Ball, who's out for the regular season. I don't know what's going on with the Ball genes, because, we all know it's been happening with Lonzo as well. But the thing right here for me is I think this is a long-term experiment here. I think a lot of people are like, oh, championship bust. I mean, yes, I understand why people say that, because you got a team in the Phoenix Suns who were just in the NBA Finals 2 years ago, a team that had the best record in basketball last year before losing to Luka and the Mavs in a tough 7-game series. And I understand why you would think just adding Kevin Durant to that mix should automatically championship or bust. So I get that, and I'm not going to argue them being championship or bust. But this is a long-term situation. He's under contract for the next 3 seasons, even after this. There's 20-something games left. It's a very, very short time to get in a rhythm, to get some chemistry, especially from a guy who hasn't played in about a month and a half, as good as he looked yesterday. So I definitely think they got a shot. If they make it to the finals, if they win the finals, I would not be surprised or shocked or anything like that. But I do think we need to be able to, take a zoomed out view on this and be like, look, this is just the beginning of a little window here for the Phoenix Suns. And I also think this team has depth issues. If you look at the last night, there's only one other person in double digits besides Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and that was DeAndre Ayton. So, and there's a lot of questions. Chris Paul, you look at Chris Paul, he pulled his fucking hamstring. So you got that can come into play as well. But it was also it was a very good debut for KD. And I know a lot of people, say whatever they got to say about KD. I know, Charles Barkley, Shaq, he's got to win it somewhere else. I think KD, the KD's legacy is, to me, I understand where it comes from, but at the same time, people got to stop lying about having revisionist history about the 2017 and 2018, even 2019 when he got hurt. Teams that he was on 2017, I'll argue that 2017 Cleveland Cavalier team was better than the one that won the championship the year before. They needed Kevin Durant to win that, like by far. Kevin Durant was the best player on those two championship teams. Now, we all know that Stephen Curry is the engine that makes the car of the Golden State Warriors go. Nobody is debating that, but they needed him. He was dominant in 2018. He was the NBA Finals MVP in both. And even in 2019, they lost that series mainly because Kevin Durant was hurt. And this is no shade to Toronto. You play who you play. I'm not trying to bring injuries up as a factor, but I remember that game 5. When KD decided to come back after injuring his calf, the game that he eventually ended up rupturing his Achilles, he was cooking their ass. And I think everybody in the building, everybody who's watching the game at home was like, uh-oh, the Raptors done fucked up. And now this is where the series is going to turn. So we need to look at it from that perspective of, he doesn't really have anything to prove. Like, he has championships. He has the finals MVP, and even with the whole 73-9 debate, it's like, does the record matter or does it not matter? Which way are we looking at that debate? Because some people are like, well, you joined the 73-9 team. But when it's time to clown the words, like, oh, 73-9 means nothing. Which is it Uchi Wally or is it one Mike? Which one is it going to be? But I also think KD has a big hand in this. He's got to stop fucking responding to all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And all due respect to Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I actually think that he's actually underrated now just because he's been off the court for so long. And there's actually kids out there, if you watch the league, who don't know that this man was not only one of the best players of all time, he was an MVP. Having said all that, Charles Barkley at his best ain't Kevin Durant. So if I'm KD, I'm like, I don't give a damn what you say. That wouldn't even cross my damn mind. Now, Shaq is a different story. Even Shaq, a lot of times Shaq just be talking. I mean, he compared Anthony Edwards to, Linsanity the other day. So it's whatever. But I feel like KD, this is a good situation for him. I think it's going to be a great basketball fit. I'm not the biggest fan of Arizona, but it's warm there, and it's a lot warmer and laid back than New York City, which I think fits Kevin Durant's personality. And it's a team that I think next season is going to make some changes. I wouldn't be shocked if Chris Paul's not on this team next year. He has no more guaranteed money. Kyrie Irving's going to be a free agent. There's a lot of things that, even Kyrie and KD said themselves, you never know, we might play again. There's a lot of things that might happen, but for this season, I'm really interested to see how they're going to play them rest of next year. The West is all over the fucking place. Who knows who's going to come out of there? But it was good to see KD on the court, man. It's been a while to see him back on there. So salute to Kevin Durant. Let's get into this, the battle for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think we don't know who's coming out the West. The East is very top heavy. I really think it's a 2-man race. It's between Milwaukee and it's between Boston. I think Boston has every right to be the NBA Finals favorite. This is a team that has pretty much been on cruise control for the entire season. They have fallen out of number 1. Had a tough loss this week to the Knicks, and the Bucks have just been on fire. The Bucks are now on a 16-game win streak. The addition of Jay Crowder has been great for them so far. Giannis is ridiculous. I mean, Giannis is the best player in the NBA. Giannis is doing what Giannis is doing. Chris Middleton's starting to get back into form. Jrue Holiday did a real good job of holding it down while Giannis was out a couple games after All-Star break. And they're starting to get even more healthy. You're getting Bobby Portis back. You got Joe Ingles, which I think he's going to play a big role in the postseason. Everybody's getting healthy now. And I feel like this is a team that I feel like home court matters a lot for both of these guys, both these teams. No matter how good Boston is, no matter how good Milwaukee is, you want that Game 7 in your building. We all know what it's like playoff time in Boston. That Game 7 they had last year, granted there was no Chris Middleton, but that Game 7, that game being in their building played in their favor for them to win that game in a blowout fashion that they did. I don't think it goes that way if that game is played in Milwaukee. So this is something I think is going to go down to the last week of the season. And I think no matter how deep Boston is, and no matter how good Denver may look, and things like that, how Phoenix, how they might look, Golden State's not 100% dead yet. I still think all healthy, I will give the favorites to be the Milwaukee Bucks. You got the best player. You got a team that's been there, a team that could have repeated last year. I believe if they were healthy. Now they're healthy. And I just feel like in the playoffs, I'm not a Jason Tatum hater, contrary to popular belief. I got to see more from Tatum. Now, is Tatum capable of doing it 100%? I'm waiting for him to do it. And I'm waiting for him to be more consistent with his greatness. I know he hit the game win over Philly last Saturday. He was ass 44 of them 46 minutes. That was the least he could fucking do for his team. I need to see it more consistently, and I need to see it in the playoffs. What he did with those 100 turnovers in the postseason and just egregious post NBA Finals he had, let Andrew Wiggins lock him up. You got to see more consistency, and I do feel like Joe Mazzulla, he's going to have to make the necessary changes in the postseason that Ime Udoka did so well. Can he do that? I feel like there's more question marks for them than there are for Milwaukee, and I do think that it will probably be a 7-game series if and when they meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I know the old quote, you never want to go against a team in a game 7 when the best player is on the other side of the court. And that's why I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks, man. But that's going to be something to monitor, these next couple weeks of the season, man. As of right now, Boston's only a half game out, man. So that's going to be interesting to see for the rest of the year. You look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, man. Not Milwaukee, Philadelphia is, I feel like, coming back, not really coming back. If you're watching Philadelphia, if you know anything about Doc Rivers and James Harden, things like that, they're playing like the team. They're getting in the playoff form right now, blowing these leads. Embiid, I feel, is going to be the next superstar who's going to demand a trade. But if I were them, I would watch out for the New York Knicks. If I was the Sixers, I'm looking out for them. And if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm looking at the New York Knicks. Y'all know I don't like New York sports, mainly because I have a lot of New York homies and I just like laughing at them when their teams lose. But this is to me, on paper. Now playoffs come with a different story. This to me might be the best Knicks team we've seen. I'm going to hot take it up here. I think in about 30 years, I really think this is a really good team. Jalen Brunson, maybe outside of Damian Lillard, has been the best guard in the NBA since the year's turn 2023. And if you disagree with that statement, I don't think you're really watching. Julius Randle's been hooping. I love what we're seeing from Emmanuel Quickly. Grimes has been hooping, and I got to give Tibbs some. Tibbs has been coaching pretty well, man. And I feel like this is a team that we know what it's like in the Garden come postseason. It's loud as fuck up in there. Now, I'm not saying that I'm 100% would pick them over the Cavaliers or the Sixers, just because I believe both teams have a player that's better than everybody on the team. I believe Donovan Mitchell is a better player than Jalen Brunson, even though I believe Jalen Brunson been playing a higher caliber of ball these last couple weeks. And we all know Embiid is a better player than everything on there. But when it comes to teams versus teams, I really feel like this is a team I wouldn't want to play in the first round if I'm those two teams. Now, if you're Boston or Milwaukee, obviously you're not worried about the fucking Knicks, even though Boston has lost damn near every game of the season, as I was corrected by Knicks fans when I tweeted that this Monday. But I really like that team, man. I feel like they are, yes, Pappy put in the quotes 30 years. Yes, I said it, 30 years. I feel like this is the best Knicks team in 30 years. I am going that far. I'm high on them, man. I'm high on now. New York sports fans, when I'm high on something, it's usually the kiss of death. So I apologize in advance. That might just be my Chicago sports curse, but I'm high on them. And I like Cleveland, but Cleveland is reminding me very similar to last year's DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. It's looking real 2-on-5-ish too much for me. And I don't think that's going to, I know that's not going to work come playoff time. They're not giving Evan Mobley the ball enough. And to me, that's going to be a problem. The Knicks play a lot of good team ball. In the fourth quarter, I trust Jalen Brunson. Shit, we seen him do it in the postseason last year. So I don't see any reason why he can't do it here. And there will be nothing funnier than to see the Knicks knock out the Sixers. Doc Rivers might get fired. And I believe Joel Embiid trade requests will knock everything down this summer. So Knicks fans, I've given you the most credit I've given y'all probably ever in my life. So take what you want from that. But I am big on this Knicks team, man. Let's get to some of the play-in standings right here in the Eastern Conference. We got at the 8th seed. We've got the Atlanta Hawks. Now I had this later on in my rundown. I'm just gonna talk about it right now. Trae Young, is he a coach killer? I don't know if I'm ready to call him a coach killer yet. I tweeted, I think like a week ago when Nate McMillan got fired, Trae Young coach killer, and all 10 Atlanta Hawks fans got mad at me. I had a whole bunch of Mason Dixie line Twitter in my mentions. But he's pulling up the coach killer boulevard. He didn't like the last two coaches he had. And I'm not saying that they're great coaches. Nate McMillan's been fired a couple times. But all eyes on Trae Young now. That East Conference Finals appearance, I believe it was fluky, but whatever. We're not gonna get into that. But that East Conference Finals appearance a couple years ago was 2 years ago, and now you got to step your shit up. This is a team that I feel like could be a lot of changes this offseason. This is a team when they traded for DeJounte Murray, they expected a lot more than what the hell they're getting right now. They just hired Quinn Snyder, which I think is a pretty solid pickup. I thought they were going to go the Ime Udoka direction, but I guess that, Ime is not going to get a job for at least a year into all this thing, which we really don't even know we still don't know what the situation is, goes away. But Quinn Snyder's a good coach. I think he knows how to coach dysfunction, as we've seen in Utah. And he's going to be having a lot of decisions in where this roster construction is going to go. So we're going to be looking at Trae Young for the rest of the year. Can you get this team into the play-in, and not only into the play-in, but can you get them in the playoffs? We know that Trae is a big-time performer in the postseason. We saw it 2 years ago, what he did against the Knicks that I just mentioned, what he did against Philadelphia, and getting his team to the Eastern Conference Finals against Milwaukee. So he has to do it, because if he has a problem with this coach, then it's going to be you're the issue. So that's going to be something I'm going to look at going forward. I do think they will make the play-in. I mean, the bottom of the East is very nasty. I mean, Toronto, I think to be better than Toronto. Washington, I think Washington's going to fall out. And I'm going to actually say some positive things about the Chicago Bulls. I think the Chicago Bulls will get that last spot, the 10th seed. I like the Patrick Beverley signing. Now, Pat Bev is, not a superstar, nothing like that. He's a fucking role player. Just call it what it is. But he moves the needle for me because defensively he's what the Bulls need. But more importantly, he's a fucking leader, which this team does not have. Zach is not a leader. DeMar is just too goddamn cool. Like, he like your cool uncle who don't ever, your cool cousin who don't ever call you out on your shit. That's who DeMar is. He's not finna yell at nobody. Pat's gonna get in your ass. And in the 3 games that Patrick Beverley has been a Bull, the Bulls are 2-1. Now, last night they got lucky as hell that Jaden Ivey forgot that the damn Pistons ain't had no timeouts left. And we all know this team loves to give up a 20-point lead. I'm not saying that when they get in the play-in that they're gonna win or do anything. I don't know. And honestly, I don't give a shit. I've given this season up to God. If they get in the play-in, they win and they get in the playoffs, and we get to see them in a 7-game series, fine. If they lose, as very low as your shot is. I mean, it's very low. We don't even know if they can even get their pick this draft, but it's in the very low chose year in the Wembanyama, Scoot Anderson draft. So I really don't care at this point, but I think that this is what they need for the rest of the year. And who knows where it goes going forward, man. But I think I've always been a huge fan of Pat Bev. I've defended Pat Bev for years, not just because he's a Chicago guy, or because I believe he is one of the best defenders in the NBA. I don't Russell Westbrook talking about he tricked y'all. No, he don't. He's a good defender. A lot of people just don't like Pat Bev because he talk a lot of shit and he's coming off the bench. But I think he's a good fit for this team, and he helps Zach and DeMar get easier shots, which is something, he's not Lonzo, obviously, but it's something that they need. It's something that Ayo Dosunmu couldn't do, something that Goran Dragic couldn't do, which, they, cut him this week. And Woj says he's probably going to be a Milwaukee Buck. But I like it, and I think it'll be enough to get them into the play-in. So let's go to the Western Conference storylines over there, man. We're going to get into MVP in a minute. But Sacramento, man, I got to give it to the Kings. they are fighting the dogs off right now. They're fighting the dogs off with them being the third seed and, KD going to the Suns, Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers. Warriors are heating up. Kyrie going to Dallas. They've been holding the fort. A big time win over the Clippers a couple days ago, actually a week ago now. That ridiculous double overtime game. And I believe Mike Brown is coach here. I don't see how you can give it to anybody else. I know Denver's been dominant. I know Joe Mazzulla's done a good job in the situation, taking over for Ime Udoka. But Mike Brown, who I still feel is one of the most disrespected coaches in recent NBA, he's a good coach, man. He's a good coach. He took those poorly constructed early Cleveland Cavalier teams. They was in contention every year. They went to the finals in 2007. I think the way that the Lakers treated him was bogus. He won a couple championships in Golden State, and he did a good job of holding down a fort in 2017 when Steve Kerr had those back issues. And what he's done with this young team with De'Aaron and Sabonis and everybody over there, I think it's been phenomenal. And this is a team where Sacramento might go from having the biggest playoff drought in American sports history to hosting a playoff series at the number 3 seed. And as it sits right now, they will probably play the Warriors or the Clippers, which I still don't think will be a favorable matchup for them. But I really love what they're doing over there, and I think they got a great chance to hold on to it. And they're only 2 games behind Memphis for the number 2 seed, man. Golden State Warriors. The Warriors right now are sitting at the 5th seed. They have won 3 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10. Nice big 22-point comeback win over the Portland Trailblazers the other night. Some good news is coming. Draymond Green just came back. Klay Thompson is finally looking like Klay Thompson. Took him about a year, but Klay is looking like Klay again, which I'm loving. Jordan Poole is turned down the dickhead basketball just a little bit. He still got it in him over there. Hopefully Andrew Wiggins will be coming back soon. And the biggest news is Stephen Curry is on track to make his return to the court next week on the Warriors 3-game road trip. And they have jumped from number 9 seed to number 5. And if they beat the Clippers tonight, they will have a strong 1 game up on the Clippers for that number 5 seed. And I'm going to say the same thing I said about the Lakers before LeBron got hurt. If this is a team that's in the play-in, yes, they can lose a game. You don't want to face the defending champions in a 7-game series. I don't give a damn. If you Sacramento, you don't want to play them. You're a young team. This is a team that's dominated this league for almost the last decade. You already know what they did to Memphis last year. They don't want the smoke. And we all know what they did to Denver. This is a team that I don't give a damn about the road record. Y'all can misread that shit. In the playoffs, they know how to win a road game, bro. I'm not worried about that. When you got Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson like Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and one of the best coaches in the league, and Steve Kerr, they can beat you. So I wouldn't be shocked if they sitting here in the NBA Finals again. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to pick them, but they've got just as good a chance as anybody. If they can stay up in the actual playoffs, bracket, and not fall back into the play-in, because everything is like separated between like 3 games from seed 3 to seed 10. So, if they don't fall back, I really, really love their chances, man. The Clippers, which is a team that I cover, the Clippers, it's hard to put my finger on the Los Angeles Clippers. This is a team that started off the year really good defensively. Offense was kind of in the gutter. Obviously, they were still waiting for Kawhi Leonard to come back. Paul George was in and out of the lineup. And, since Kawhi's been back, the man has been hooping. It's been so long since we've seen Kawhi look like Kawhi. It's been about 2 years. Of course, remember when he put his foot up in Dallas's ass the last 2 games in that first round series and eventually getting the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals, which actually kind of feels like it's forgotten now. Like when I see people compare the net situation to the Clippers, it's kind of funny to me because the only issue with the Clippers has been the injuries. At least they made a damn conference finals without their best player playing in that conference final. But the thing that sticks out to me is now it's kind of switched a little bit. Now the defense has got off. They're ranked like 22nd. The offense is pretty good, ranked in the top 4 over the last couple of weeks. And Kawhi's been cooking, averaging 28 points, shooting like 53% from the field over his last 20 games. He's been incredible. But for them to be able to be a threat, Ty Lue got to figure out these damn lineups. He got to figure out, I'm going to shoot Ty Lue some bail. I think Ty Lue is a really good coach, one of the best coaches in the league, even though I feel like this season has not been his best. It has not been his best whatsoever. But he's got to figure this out. There's no reason why you should be having Eric Gordon playing in the fourth quarter and overtime in that game against Denver the other night. You got to give T-Man the ball. When T-Man has been playing a lot better, and he's a guy with the way he's been shooting, is another guy you can kick it out to and make things better for Russell Westbrook. And I actually think Russ has played pretty well these last 3 games. Yeah, he had a little moment of Russ being Russ in the fourth quarter against the other night against who was that they played? I forgot on Tuesday they played. My mind is escaping me right now. But Minnesota. But I don't even really have a problem with him sitting fourth quarters, but you can't go Eric Gordon. It has to be Terrence Mann. And I don't want T-Man to get lost in the shuffle the closer we get to the playoffs while he's trying to figure these lineups up. But they got to get together, and they need to avoid the play-in as well, because I do believe this team is also one of the teams that's built for a 7-game series. But they got to figure it out. But number one, stop turning the fucking ball over. Like, you're not going to win a basketball game, and you damn sure not going to win a playoff series. Turn the ball over 25 times like they did the other night. So they need to clean that shit up, figure these lineups up, and try to put a body on somebody, man. Like, they're just playing bad defense. I haven't seen a team with this many veterans just have so many empty possessions late in the game. They got to get smarter. If not, it's going to be a quick exit for them, man. That's all I pretty much have for the actual, little debate right there, the state of the NBA. We'll get into other things in the NBA in a minute as far as play-in teams. But I want to talk about the great MVP debate, man. I feel like the MVP award is discussion over the last couple years, maybe for the last decade, honestly, where we've kind of gotten off where people forget that this is a regular season award. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Nikola Jokic ain't did this in the playoffs, or Joel Embiid ain't did this in the playoffs. It's a regular season award. Now, the NBA doesn't do themselves any favor because they 9 times out of present this award during the conference finals, so it doesn't really help that case. But it is a regular season award. It's really like 4 legit candidates right now. Jason Tatum's a candidate, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a candidate, but it's really a 2-man race between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. I'm going to read off some stats for y'all. Joel Embiid is averaging 33 points per game on 53% shooting. He's averaging 10.4 rebounds a game and 4.1 assists a game. Straight domination. They're the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Nikola Jokic, averaging about almost 10 points less, 24 points per game on 63% shooting, 11.7 rebounds, and 10 assists a game. He just became the second fastest player in NBA history to record 100 triple-doubles. And for those of you who say you stat padding like Kendrick Perkins, I don't know what the fuck you're watching. The Nuggets are 24-0 when he has a triple-double. So I think he should do more of those. And he's looking to become the 3rd player in NBA history to average a triple-double for the season. Of course, the other 2 was Oscar Robertson, the Big O, and of course, Russell Westbrook did it for a couple seasons in a row. He's looking to be the first big man to do that. And this is something to me where I would love to see Joel Embiid win the MVP. I think Joel is one of the best in the NBA. And I love Jokic too. But it's really going to come down to how the NBA votes. Jokic is looking to become the first player since Larry Bird to win 3 MVPs in a row. Nobody has done that since then. Not Michael Jordan, not Shaquille O'Neal, not LeBron James, not Tim Duncan, not Giannis. Jokic is in line to do that. And because the Nuggets are number 1 in the West, and they've been running away with that lead they have been in first place since early December. And they're not going to be jagging that anytime soon. They got a 6-7 game lead over the Memphis Grizzlies. And just the domination that we've seen Jokic. Now, one thing I will say, when they do play, Embiid does get in his ass. I mean, the last time they played, he got in him. But the things Jokic is doing just needs to be appreciated. I know a lot of people just don't like to give him his love for whatever reason. But the dude is cold. I mean, you just don't have 40, 17, 10 triple-doubles. like that shit's just normal. Like, we need to be paying more attention to this. And it's unfortunate, Joel, because I feel like Joel is being held back by his coach and his co-star, James Harden, who's actually trying to run back to Houston because he doesn't want to take any fucking accountability. He wants to go play with those youngins and just, put up points and go to strip clubs and win 20 games a year. He's trying to plot his exit. So he's being held back. This is a guy who could be the number 1 seed in the league and actually win the MVP if he had more serious people around him. Now, with that being said, I think I would pick Jokic to be the MVP this year, and I do believe Jokic will be voted the MVP this year. But there is going to be pressure. I think that Nikola Jokic has the most pressure coming into this upcoming postseason. Some shit got to shake. Now, he ain't had his full cast since the bubble. You got to give him that. Jamal Murray's been healthy. Michael Porter Jr.'s been healthy. They both have looked pretty good. Michael Porter Jr.'s looked great. Aaron Gordon has been having a career year. They've got a really good bench. KCP, guys like that have been hooping. And, of course, Michael Malone is one of the best coaches in basketball. And they're going to have the home court advantage. The road to the NBA Finals is going to roll through. I'm going to call it the Pepsi Arena, the Pepsi Center. I don't give a damn that it's called Ball Arena. I'm going old school, the Pepsi Center. You don't have to roll through there and beat them in that high altitude and beat that very deep team. Now, Jokic has never been somebody who hasn't played well in the playoffs. He's played well. But in order to, I feel, justify whether it's to haters or the critics or whoever, they got to at least make the NBA Finals if you're going to be a 3-time MVP to justify that. So people don't look at you the way there's some, maybe unfair or not, look at Steve Nash, which, I'm not going to get into that. That debate is like, one of the longest debates in NBA history. But he's got to do better. He's got to get his team to the finals. It's now or never for them. And it's going to be a random roll for them because you don't know who they're going to run into. But I do believe that he's going to be the MVP when it's all said and done. And I'm just saying, you know how they always say, appreciate. I feel like we do crown people a little bit too quick. But what Mark Jackson said last week, he said that Embiid and Jokic are the top 10 centers of all time. I don't think that's a blasphemous statement. I mean, you've got the obvious of, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, the Bill Russells, the Will Chamberlains, the Hakeem Olajuwons, Shaq, Patrick Ewing, you got those, David Robinson. But after that, they are in there. And I don't think that's egregious, and it's just fun to watch both of them. And I do believe Jokic will come out on top, and we're going to see this man win 3 MVPs in a row. So appreciate what you're watching right now from the big fella, man. Let's go on to the number one topic here in Los Angeles outside of the Dodgers spring training as they get ready for another 114 win season where they lose in the first round. That's just Dodger baseball. But I digress. LeBron James having a great year, age 38, playing better than anybody I can remember in NBA history playing at his age. Just broke the all-time scoring record a month ago. Got some trades. This Laker team was like 4-1. The biggest comeback in his 20-year career happened on Sunday, coming back 27 points against the Dallas Mavericks. He's been good. He's out, man. He's out, injured his foot in that game. He finished the rest of the game, but as I tweeted during the game, that's all adrenaline. He said it's something popped. I knew that he was done when he left the arena. He's walking like Fred Sanford. But he is going to be out with a foot injury. He is wearing a walking boot, as we saw the other night in Memphis and in Oklahoma City. And he's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. That doesn't mean he's coming back. That, to me, that's looking on the bright side. And the way it's looking right now, LeBron wouldn't be missing these games if he wasn't severely hurt. He just said that these were 23 of the most important games of his career during All-Star, which I think was, a little much. I mean, LeBron has played in way more important games than this. I don't think that, they don't think him making a play in or not doesn't affect his legacy whatsoever. And that conversation needs to go away. LeBron James is good. But if he wasn't, we all know he's seriously hurt from to be missing these games. And I'm not ready to say the Lakers are cooked, not because I believe in the Lakers, and it's not damn sure because I don't believe in Anthony Davis, because I don't. It's because if you look at the bottom of the Western Conference right now, if you look at the bottom of the Western Conference playing right now, you've got the 4 playing teams of Dallas at 7, Minnesota at number 8, Utah at number 9, and New Orleans at number 10. The Lakers are a game behind New Orleans and only 2 behind Dallas for the 2nd seed, and they've got the easiest schedule left in the NBA. And I think really just because I don't believe in New Orleans without Zion. They've been god-awful without Zion, which way worse than I think they should be. They should – I understand you're going to be bad when missing your best player, but they shouldn't be this fucking bad. The BI that we saw last night in Portland is what we need to be seeing more. But I'm not so confident that they're going to stay in that 10 seed, and we don't know that Danny Ainge might call everybody like, all right, start playing some youngins. It's time for us to learn some French and get ready to get Wembanyama. So we don't know if that's going to happen. So I do believe that they have a chance to get one of those last couple seasons, but I don't think you're going to see LeBron for the rest of the year. I think LeBron is done. And honestly, even if he is, somewhat ready in 3 weeks, Why risk it? Why risk it to make a fucking play in? Like, I just don't see the point. Rest up. You got a team that I feel like next year can be in that top four with the new way that Rob Pelinka has structured the roster. Who knows? Maybe they found a way to get Kyrie Irving. Now, they can't get Kyrie Irving his max deal because they traded Russell Westbrook and his money is not going to be coming off the Lakers cap. Now, I'm not going to guess what Kyrie Irving is going to do because I'm done guessing what Kyrie Irving is going to do, but we all know that door can be open. But Anthony Davis, man, I'm going to say something about Anthony Davis. I am also not an Anthony Davis hater. I think Anthony Davis, he makes me angry. I'm not even a Laker fan, but he makes me angry because the way I just talked about Giannis today, the way I just talked about Joel Embiid today, the way I just talked about Nikola Jokic today, talent-wise, he should be in that conversation, but he's not. He's a tier under him, and it don't make no damn sense. Now, I'm not going to blame the injuries. You can't do nothing about injuries. You get hurt, you get hurt. But even when he's playing, sometimes he don't play as well as he needs to. And there's a lot of times he looks great. That needs to be consistent. The consistency has not been there when he's in the lineup since the bubble. And even in the bubble, he had 4 months of no playing time to even be able to do that. This is a situation right here where I'm not saying that I haven't heard anything about this. Nobody has told me this. This hasn't been a rumor in LA sports or anything that Woj anybody has said. But if he fails to get this team to a play-in, if you're Anthony Davis and you can't leap the fucking Pelicans without Zion and the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trailblazers, if you can't do that, I wouldn't be surprised if Pelinka tries to trade him this offseason. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure on this man, and he needs to go out there. I don't understand sitting out the last night. I don't. I know that Pelinka and Darvin Ham said this was playing weeks ago and he came back. I don't want to hear that shit. It's the end of the year. Season is on the line. You play through that. You play through it. And this is not no old school shit. You play through that shit, man. Unless you legitimate hurt, you got to go out there and play. Now, they won anyway. That's not the point. They got a big game coming up this Saturday against Golden State. Of course, Steph isn't going to play, but they've been playing pretty well. They got to get that win, and they got to get in there. So I won't say that the Lakers are done as far as getting in a play-in, but any chances them actually making a 7-game series to me has died with LeBron James' injury, man. So that's how I feel about that. We already talked about Trae Young, as you see there on the rundown, so we're going to skip that. But let's talk about Luka and Kyrie, man. Luka and Kyrie, it's been almost a month as they've been teammates together. They have an under 500 record just as a team, and they are 1-4 in the 5 games that these two have played together. And watching this team recently, and they got a big game tonight against Philadelphia, big game on Sunday against Phoenix, Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to blame Luka. Y'all know Luka's one of my favorite players in the league. My Luka stand papers are sent and notarized. I am a Luka guy. But Mark Cuban got you your help. You got to go out there and let Kyrie do what he does. To me, there's been too many times, especially in that 27-point collapse on Sunday, where he's still going 1-on-5. Now, I know it's early. He hasn't had a player. He's never played with a player of Kyrie's caliber in his life. But he's got to let Kyrie do. You know, y'all got to get the 1-2 situation going on. And Jason Kidd has got to actually run some more plays for Kyrie. I didn't like what I heard from Jay Kidd this week. Well, I'm watching it just like y'all. What you want me to do? I don't know. Coach, motherfucker. Like, don't act like you're like just watching like, yeah, you're the coach. Your job is to make plays for this. So, and I feel like Kyrie isn't being as aggressive because it's not his team. He doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. And I really feel like Kyrie's trying to be on the straight and narrow to get that long-term contract this year. I mean, this offseason, whether it's from Dallas or for somebody else. So I'm looking at Luka. You can't have, I think it would be shameful if they're a playing team with those two players on their team. They have to be a top 6 seed. They need to get this shit together and come to Jesus moment. Sit down with Kyrie and figure out how you guys are going to work this. Yes, they're not going to get better defensively overnight. That's just not going to happen. Not until they add better defenders to this team in the offseason. That all left when they got rid of Spencer Dinwiddie and Finney Smith. You know what I'm saying? So, but you need to make other teams respect y'all to guard y'all more, and that's going to require Luka passing the ball more and giving Kyrie more opportunities, man. And I need to see that. It's got to start now. They've got some rough games coming up, and I need to see them. These 2 games they got at home against Philadelphia and against Phoenix, they need to go out there and get some momentum because if this fails, Kyrie's probably going to leave, and then the clock is going to be ticking on whether or not Luka's going to leave. I think Luka is weird because he's the only superstar I can remember where I don't 100% know how to build around him because his usage rate is so high. He does so many things. He needs to be able to, have somebody help. He's like somebody who does everything himself, whether they're an entrepreneur or something. And they finally get some employees, and not to call Kyrie as employee, but like they finally get some employees, and they don't know how to just relax and let people do their job. Let Kyrie help you, man. So that's my advice to Luka Doncic, man. That is it with the NBA talk. Let's wrap this show up with some NBA NFL Combine news. NFL Combine, we are in day 2, man. Of course, everybody knows. If you don't know, that is basically the official start of the offseason, where everybody is giving skills tests to these college players, and seeing what's going to happen. This is also Chatty Patty Central. This is where rumors start. Who's going to trade here, who's going to sign here, what's going to happen in the draft. Like all that stuff is what happens in this week conference in Indianapolis. There's nothing else to do in Indiana but drink and talk shit. So there's going to be a lot of that going on. But the big news coming to us, I'm going to go off 3 big points that I have taken away from the combine these first 2-3 days. Of course, everybody knows the Jalen Carter situation. Now, those of you who don't know what happened with Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter, I'm going to read you off what happened. This the press release came out from the police department yesterday. So as a result of the ongoing investigation into the January 15, 2023 fatal car crash that occurred in the 900 block of Barnett Shoals Road, the Athens Clarke County Police Department has secured arrest warrants for Jalen Carter, age 21, for reckless driving and racing. The investigation found that Chandler Leroy, driver of the 2021 Ford Expedition, and Jalen Carter, driver of the 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, were operating their vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving the downtown Athens area at about 2:30 in the morning. The evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove into the center turn lane, drove in the opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling about 104 miles per hour. The toxicology report indicated that LaCroix's blood alcohol concentration was 1.97 at the time of the crash. Investigators determined that the alcohol impairment, racing, reckless driving, and speed was significant contribution to the factors. This case will be given to the Solicitor General's office. Now, this is a misdemeanor. I think the big thing here is 2 people died. That's the big situation here for me. Jalen, he's very young. He's a kid. He's 21. But you got to be smarter than that, man. Now, this came out yesterday, literally 10 minutes before he was getting ready to meet the media, or before his workouts and things like that. The timing can be whatever, but that's not here what I'm here to discuss about. He went and he left the combine yesterday. He went back to Athens, turned himself in, went to jail, got bailed out, and then he returned back to the combine today. And he did his workout. He met with a couple of teams, and he was there to root on the rest of his position corps as they went through their workouts. Now, this is the PR statement that came out from Jalen Carter yesterday. Statement said, "This morning I received a telephone call from the Athens, Georgia Police Department informing me that 2 misdemeanor warrants have been issued against me for reckless driving and racing. Numerous media reports also have circulated this morning containing then inaccurate information concerning the tragic events of January 15, 2023. It is my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all the facts are known, that they will be fully exonerated of any crime, any wrongdoing." So we got to wait till this situation plays out. But from a football perspective, I don't really know 100% how this is going to affect his draft positioning, just because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what Georgia's laws are like. I don't know if he's going to do any jail time. Now, I don't, character issues was already a thing before this, but I think that was more about him allegedly taking plays off, maybe not going 100% as he could in games. But if he goes to jail, I think if he goes to jail, that's the only thing I feel like will affect this, because it's the NFL. Let's just keep it a buck. This is the home of bad decisions. The NFL doesn't give a shit in the grand scheme of things. Roger Goodell might put on this facade that he cares, but he don't give a fuck. These teams mostly don't give a fuck. Can you help us win? So if he is exonerated, or is a fine, or it's his community service and he doesn't go to jail, I don't think he's falling farther than number 5. But he's just got to be smarter. You got to put yourself in better positions, man. Some people died. And I feel like if they didn't die, this wouldn't be the big situation it is right now. I will never understand racing. I will never understand driving drunk. Those things don't make any sense to me. But he's a kid at the same time. As dumb as that shit was, he's a kid at the same time, and hopefully he will learn from this. But this is not the best start to your pro career, my guy. This is not the best start. You're not only, if you drop in the draft, you lose money. The highest paid picks get the most money. And instead of us talking about you being a potential generational talent, can this guy be the next Aaron Donald and things like that? Are you going to be the guy who's going to anchor a defense for one of these upcoming young teams like the Arizona Cardinals or even the Chicago Bears? And that segues to my next point about the Bears. The Bears and Ryan Poles hold all the cards to this offseason with the number 1 draft pick and the most cap space in football. This kind of changes things a little bit for the Bears because as Bears fans and media members and everybody's like, oh, you trade down and you're going to get the pick of the litter. You're either going to walk home with Will Anderson Jr. or you're going to walk home with Jalen Carter. Now, the Bears have this thing family-wise, franchise-wise. The Bears don't do controversy. Ever since the real cocaine Bears, Sam Hurd and Tank Johnson bringing straps up to Hallis Hall, they don't condone that shit anymore. This is a team that didn't take George Pickens last year because of his, maturity issues, which were nothing like what happened with Jalen Carter. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Now, who knows? Ryan Poles is a new general manager. This is a guy who did sign Byron Pringle last offseason. Byron Pringle got arrested, for driving, recklessly with a baby in the back fucking seat. So I don't know, maybe that's a new type of thing, but this is something for me where it changes things a little bit because now, if you're going to get a Jalen Carter, and now more teams are going to be looking at Will Anderson Jr. So they hold all the cards. But number one thing, day 1 of the combine, Ryan Poles came, spoke to the media, and I really love how Ryan Poles is playing poker right now. He is doing the right things. He went up there and said, yeah, Justin Fields is our quarterback. I've been in contact with Justin. He's going to be in the draft room with us. But then leaving that door cracked, saying, but I will do my due diligence. We're going to meet with all these quarterbacks. So they're going to meet with Bryce Young. They're going to meet with C.J. Stroud. They're going to meet with Will Levis. And they're going to be meeting with Anthony Richardson, who's the new hot name coming up right now, quarterback out of Florida. And he's playing it well. And you got the Chris Ballards, the GM of the Colts, saying, well, it's got to be an absolute can't-miss prospect and things like that. Cut the shit. If you believe anything from any GM who might be potentially trying to trade up on March 2nd, I've got a fucking ocean in the middle of Idaho to sell you. Don't believe that. Especially with the report that came out this afternoon from Ian Rappaport that there is intensive, let me look at the significant interest in the number 1 draft pick from multiple teams for the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to list out those teams right here. Multiple interest, significant interest from the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Carolina Panthers. And also Arizona Cardinals, who have the number 3 pick, are interested in trading now, which will help the Bears out tremendously by getting Will Anderson Jr. if they do decide to trade down to number 10. So this to me, I'm having fun watching this. I do believe that, I'm glad that he said that they've been in contact with Justin and Justin will be in the draft room with him, which I love because you want your franchise quarterback. You want the leader of your team to pick the guys he wants to help him take this team to the next level. My prediction, this trade will happen. Now, Ryan Poles said he wouldn't be shocked if they get a trade done before free agency. That's 2 weeks officially from now. I don't think it's going to happen that early. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but I'm not predicting it. But I will say before April 1st, that trade will be done and they'll fully go into their draft, strategy of which way they want to go. But this is an exciting time for Bears fans, and I do feel like this is going to be an excellent opportunity, and it's been really cool to see a general manager who actually seems, I'm going to say seem, because I'm not going to give his flowers till he actually has the job, till he actually does the job. Having the tools to get the job done and actually doing the job are 2 different fucking things. So he has to do the thing. But I really like where he's going right now, and I do think the Bears are going to get a massive haul for this number 1 pick. And I do think you're slowly starting to see the chess match between the Colts and the Texans to see who's going to blink first, because you don't want you don't want your division rival to potentially get the next great star in the NFL. So that's going to be fun to watch these next couple weeks. Now, my third observation from these first 2 days of the combine is we are officially on Lamar Jackson watch as well. Lamar Jackson still in a contract dispute with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens coach John Harbaugh told the media in day one of the combine, I love Lamar. He's my quarterback. Hope we get this job done. So now there's been a whole bunch of back and forth really all season about what the holdup is. It's like, well, they don't want to negotiate because he doesn't have an agent, which I believe at the time now, but I don't believe now because Roquan Smith got to deal with them done very quickly, and Roquan ass ain't got an agent either. So there's always been more to the story, and we learned more about it today, which is something that I have been saying on this show since day one. I thought was the number one issue, and Josina Anderson from CBS Sports came out and said that Lamar Jackson doesn't want a penny less in guaranteed money than what Deshaun Watson made in that deal with the Cleveland Browns. And I said this a year ago when that trade happened, that was going to fuck up the quarterback markets. There's going to be quarterbacks who are better and have achieved more than Deshaun Watson who are going to want that, and it's going to fuck things up. The report is that the Ravens offered him $50 million a year, which is what Aaron Rodgers is making right now with the Green Bay Packers. And he said, no, you're going to pay me exactly not a cent less than Deshaun Watson. You can argue whether he's a better quarterback or not. I'm not here to start that argument or not, but this man has won an MVP in 2019. This man has done more in the postseason than Deshaun Watson. And most importantly, he's not harassed women like Deshaun Watson. And I'm with Deshaun. Hold the fort. Now, this is when things get tricky here. If they don't come to a deal, they're going to franchise tag him. Now, which franchise tag he gets is going to be the thing that's going to set everything off. If he gets the non-exclusive franchise tag, that means that they're going to allow them, kind of like restricted free agency, they're going to allow him to go out there and find a deal and then decide if they want to match it or not. And from the way things are going right now, things can change in a matter of moments. The owners of the Ravens could go to Lamar's house, sit down, like, yo, how are we going to work this out? And they come to a deal. But the more as the hours turn, I think that he's going to get the non-exclusive tag, and I think he's going to go out there and get a big deal. There's going to be teams like the Jets, teams like the Miami Dolphins probably. The Dolphins just said that they're not 100% sure that Tua is in their long-term future by not picking up his fifth-year option. So that's something that's going to be standing out. Atlanta Falcons are foaming from the mouth for a quarterback. Obviously, with the interest I just told you a second ago about them wanting to get the number one draft pick from the Bears, they let Matt Ryan walk out last year, and they just released Marcus Mariota. So that's going to be something to me that's going to really, really turn up. And this is the thing for the Ravens, man. I'm going to say this before I go to Goofy Mog of the Week. Be careful what you wish for. If you want to get rid of this dude, what's your backup plan? What's your backup plan? Because quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson don't grow on trees. So I think it's a coming to God moment for this franchise. This is a franchise, really their entire history before they got Steve McNair. Quarterbacks wasn't their thing. They was like the Bears, but then they got Steve McNair. Joe Flacco won them a championship, and now you've got Lamar Jackson. Grass is not always green on the other side. So if I was the Baltimore Ravens, I would be very, very careful here, man. So we're going to wrap this up with my Goofy Mog of the Week. And this week, I'm going to give it to the one and only Ja Morant. Now, I'm not here to scold Ja Morant. I'm going to give him some wisdom here. You gotta get your shit together, my guy. You gotta get your shit together. As we know, this week came out yesterday. He is allegedly being sued for beating up a 17-year-old foot action employee and brandishing a gun in his face. Now, the story is that his mother had some problems with this foot action employee and called Ja, and Ja came up with 9 dudes. And they were fucking with the dude and threatened him and said, saying, or what time does he get off and things like that. Now, we don't know specifics. We don't know exactly what they did to his mother, what they said to his mother, things like that. We don't know the kid's name or anything like that. So we don't know 100%. We know, of course, the Indiana Pacers event, in a situation where he was had a little beam light he was aiming at their bus. And, of course, the situation where he allegedly beat up a 17-year-old kid at his house when they had a pickup game. Now, why the hell he was hooping with neighborhood kids to fucking begin with, I don't fucking know. But whether all of these things happened or not, there's a pattern here. And usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is a moment right here where you're becoming one of the young faces of the league right now. His first signature shoe is set to drop later this month. He is, the official ambassador of Powerade. He's multiple time All-Star now. He is the face of one of the faces of the league. His team is number 2 in the West. You got to get your shit together. And he's a young kid. And you got to understand which way you're going to do it. Not only you fucking with your own money, you fucking with the league's money. And when you fucking with the league's money, you putting yourself in the wrong position. I don't know what kind of upbringing he had. I know that's the running joke on Twitter. He's a fake ass gangster and shit. I don't know. Y'all automatically assume he wasn't in the streets because he got a 2-parent household. I know a lot of people who had 2-parent households and was doing dumb shit. I know a lot of people who were in single-parent households who walked the straight and narrow. I don't really think how many parents in the house had anything to fucking do with it. But Ja needs to take a moment, just like I said, on the court with Kyrie and Luka. He got to have a come to Jesus moment here. What do you want to do? Where do you want your career to go? Because you're at a fork in the road right now. And he needs to get his shit together, clean this shit up, and just worry about hooping and getting your team an NBA championship, man. I don't think that for me, when I make jokes about it, I just make jokes because Twitter, that's what we do. But seriously, I'm a fan of Ja Morant. I want to see him, excel. I want to see him healthy. And I don't want to see him doing time on the news all the time for stupid shit. I think he needs to talk to Allen Iverson. Go talk to AI. AI is the OG to go talk to. Now, AI did a lot of dumb shit at the beginning of his career. A lot of dumb shit. We had situations with guns and in jail and things like that. Talk to AI, man. Sit down with him. Figure out what's going on and just clean this shit up, man, because we don't want a career as bright as his to be lost to some dumb shit, man. So it's Goofy Mog of the Week because he's doing shit he don't need to be doing, but I really, really hope that he gets his things together and just continue to be the superstar that we know he can be, man. So that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got for y'all today. I appreciate y'all joining me each and every week. Next week, we're probably going to have to do a show on Friday. I've got some things to do next Thursday, but I will update y'all with actual times for that. I'm not going to hold you. The offseason is coming back. We don't have any dates yet. Still figuring out the whole guest process, but we're going to be doing a lot of things with that, man. Some cool interviews coming soon, though. But we're getting into the stretch run, man. We're getting a couple weeks into the playoffs. We're about a month away from the play-in starting, and that's going to be real fun. Baseball season is starting up, and the NFL is a 24/7, 365 league now. So we're 2 weeks away from free agency, and things are really going to pick up. And I think it's going to be a crazy offseason. And I'm just excited to have y'all roll with me these next couple months, man. So y'all know to follow me on Twitter at BarbChairScott on Twitter and Instagram. Y'all can follow this great media company, HB Media, at HB Media TV on Twitter and HB Media on Instagram. Follow my super producer, Pavia, at Pavy World. Follow the Barbershop Network at Barbershop Net on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Barbershop Network. New Cinema with the Guys up right now. New episode of Summer Sessions out right now. You check that out. And we're going to holler at y'all next week, man. We out.
Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna